Good evening, everyone. Apopka High School and Lake Highland Prep welcome you to our sixth and final game of day one here at the 13th annual Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge, presented by Burnfat Orlando, St. Germain Chiropractic, and Advent Health. Please welcome our guests. Wearing the orange jerseys, visitors on the scoreboard from Mount Dora High School, they are the Hurricanes. And they'll be taking on, wearing the white jerseys, home on the scoreboard, representing the Orlando Metro Conference from Lake Buena, Vista High School, they are the Vipers. The Metro versus Florida Challenge is the event every year that stakes the reputation of the Orlando Metro Conference on the line against some of the best schools that are from just outside of Orange County or from private schools in Orange County. And we see who comes up with the highest total at the end of our 22 games. So, Mount Dora versus Lake Buena Vista to wrap up game number 6, and let's meet the teams, beginning with our guests from Mount Dora. And starting at guard with 5'10" junior, number 3, Josh Collins. At guard and post, 5'8" junior, number 10, David Ramos Rivera. At shooting guard, 5'10" senior, number 11, Aldo Nunez Hernandez. At forward, 6'3" junior, number 14, Jeremiah Brinson. And finally, for the Hurricanes, at forward, 6'3" junior, number 21, Evan Wasson. The head coach of the Hurricanes in his 5th year at the helm of Mount Dora, Mr. John Liptak. And now, let's meet the starting lineup for the Lake Buena Vista Vipers. Starting with 6'1" sophomore, number 3, Nash Barfield. 5'11" junior, number 10, Micah Winslow. 5'10" sophomore, number 11, Alessandro Ferracci. 6' senior, number 14, Isaiah Limage. Excuse me, that is 6'5" senior, number 15, Jonathan Porter. And finally for the Vipers, 5'11" senior, number 5, Fabian Joseph. And the head coach of the Vipers in his 3rd year at LBV, Mr. Gerald Scott. The officials for tonight's game are from the Central Florida Officials Association here in Orlando. For those of you here in the arena, we want to remind you that we are live streaming all 22 games of the Metro versus Florida Challenge, including this one, and it is on YouTube. Just search for Metro VSFL on the YouTube app with your favorite computer, smart TV, or mobile device, or go to youtube.com/@MetroVSFL, or go to MetroVSFL.com, and we have a link directly to all of our live streams there. So whether you have friends and family back in Mount Dora, back on the Lake Buena Vista side of town, or anywhere in the world, we invite you to join us virtually. And in particular, we want to extend a warm welcome to those of you who have done just that. Once again, my name is Mark Parchi, the media director for the Metro versus Florida Challenge, ready to take you through tonight's contest. And I'll be joined in just a moment by Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief, who has been diligently working and straining his voice all day, so he is wetting his whistle in the back, and he'll be out here to join us for the call of the game shortly. We've got Brinson and Porter at center court for the tip. And we are underway. First possession goes to the Vipers. This event, of course, named for Earl Graham for these past couple of years since we lost him to COVID-19 in January of 2021. And of course, he was a longtime coach for some 15 years with Scott Williams at both Apopka and Wekiva. Prior to that, had a lot of coaching experience here at Lake Highland Prep, and that is the reason as we get first basket of the game from Aldo Nunez Hernandez. But that is why, if you're wondering, this event started out at Wekiva when Scott Williams was there. It went to Apopka for many years, and now it continues to be at Apopka, but we've added one day of games at Lake Highland Prep, and the reason for that is because of Coach Graham's connection to LHPS. And so we are glad to share the hosting responsibilities between Apopka and LHP. This will be the last game of the night here at Lake Highland Prep, and then we will tear everything down, move it all over to Apopka tomorrow morning, and get set up for 6 more games starting at noon tomorrow. Foul is called against Hurricanes number 10, David Ramos Rivera. That's his first, the team's first, and it sends Fabian Joseph to the line, shooting 2 for the Vipers. First one bumps out. Vipers still looking to get on the board. They are a very guard-heavy team this year, but they do have a lot of size. They play fast. They get into offensive players with aggressive defense. They have speed, and the player that you will want to be watching tonight is Travis Lejean, a 2-guard with good ups and the ability to elude defenders at every turn. He is not in the starting lineup, but we'll look to see him soon. Filiano Vital, another player that's on the bench. We'll look to see him a little bit later. Another player to watch as we do finally get the Vipers on the board. That's 3 from Nash Barfield. And the Vipers take their first lead of the game. Meanwhile, the Hurricanes, well, a little bit of bad news for them. 3/4 of last season's roster were seniors, so not a lot of varsity minutes being represented historically on this year's roster. But David Ramos Rivera, whose name you've already heard tonight, last year's second leading scorer, is among the returning players, along with Aldo Nunez Hernandez. And so Coach Liptak is going to be looking for his new upperclassmen to assume leadership roles as we get a 3 in the books for number 3, Nash Barfield. So he has all the scoring for Lake Buena Vista so far. And now rolls out of bounds, and the Hurricanes with a turnover, and other than getting the first 2 points of the game, things not looking particularly great for them in the first 2 minutes and change of the first period here. Swing action, and that one was airmailed with too much postage, but the Vipers, Fabian Joseph manages to reel it in. They reset the play. Trey released and bounces out. Put back, not gonna fall, but Jonathan Porter draws the foul on the putback attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. The foul called against Hurricanes number 14, Jeremiah Brinson, is first, the team's second. First one is off the heel. Second shot, that one finds the mark. And so now finally we have another scorer in the book besides Barfield. Hurricanes last couple of times have tried to outthink the room in transition, and it's cost them. This time they do take the time to set up the play. Around to the corner, and that's a little bit too hot. Goes to Joseph on the rebound. Now a transition play attempted. And Again, a little bit too much outthinking the room there. The transition play, of course, is high risk, high reward. If you get it right, you get an easy layup. If anything goes wrong, you're pretty much guaranteed a turnover. And now, a Hurricane field goal. That's number 14, Jeremiah Brinson, puts up two for Mount Dora. So 2 field goals on each side, and then Lake Buena Vista had them from behind the arc plus a free throw, which gives them a 1-possession advantage almost halfway through the first quarter here in Game 6. Inside to the paint, or actually lack of paint in this gym. And now we're going to get a held ball, possession, Hurricanes. So Mount Dora catches a break there. And some speed moving it up the court. Now the shot from the top of the key. Count it. David Ramos Rivera takes it to within 1. So now we'll welcome back Neil Fisher to the broadcast. Of course, this is a marathon for all of us here, so we do have to rotate in and out so that we have a chance to get a little bit of break in and stay healthy. But Neil, welcome back to the broadcast, and we are getting ready to wrap things up here in our nightcap, our final game, as we get a 3 from Fabian Joseph and wrap up day 1 of our 13th installment.
Well, thank you, Mark, and of course, as always, I know we're a few minutes into the ballgame, but an excellent job of doing the pregame festivities. 10-6 lead now for Lake Buena Vista. Of course, representing the Metro Conference, and it's been the Florida contingency so far dominating this event, winning all 5 games. If you're new to this event, it's based on the ACC versus Big Ten Challenge. Every member of the Metro Conference takes on a non-member, aka the Florida contingency, in every game. And at the end of the 26 games, as Mark said, it is quite a marathon. We add up which side has the most wins, and this is the best that the Florida contingency has ever done. Of course, when you're up 5-0, there's really no way you can argue with that. 3:07 remaining, 10-6 lead.
Foul called against Alessandro Ferracci. That's his first, the team's first as well.
So we've seen 4 of the 5 games have been close, at least coming down to the last couple of minutes.
But to your point, Neil, as we keep the unofficial tote board, I mean, obviously, these games do count on the record. So last week was the preseason.
Yeah,
and so most of these teams participated in 2 games for preseason classics.
Yeah,
for most participants in the Metro versus Florida Challenge, this game will be their first official game that counts on the record of the year, although there are a couple, as we get a 3 from Alessandro Ferracci. There are a couple of teams that played games on Monday in other holiday events, and so this is actually their second game. But for the most part, it is their first game of the season. And so, of course, from the team's perspective, the most important thing is how it counts on the record. The Metro versus Florida score is just kind of a just for fun thing that we do. But for what it's worth, the Metro contingency is on a little bit of a skid as we get a backcourt violation here. The last 3 events in a row, of course, you'll remember that 2020 we didn't have an event because it was canceled due to the pandemic. However, we did have events in 19, 20, and 21, and Metro lost all of those. It was 14-9, then 13-10, then 15-13 in the last 3 years. So Metro is looking to get back on the winning side of this equation, although they did build up such a lead from the first, what would that be, the first 9 installments of the Metro versus Florida Challenge. They still have the overall lead. 7 out of 12 events so far have been won collectively by the Orlando Metro Conference teams. And then if you just look at it by games, 134-112 going into this. So now 134-117. As we have yet to see a Metro team come away with the victory today.
Yeah, and of course this event was the brainchild of Scott Williams. He is currently the head coach at Apopka. He worked at Wekiva, actually started the program at Wekiva High School before that, as we got an attempt, no dice. That was Santana who took the long pass and couldn't convert. When he was at Wekiva in 2010, he came up with this event, wanted a signature event for Wekiva, who was only 3 years old, actually was just starting his third season in basketball. Of course, Coach Williams, 2013, at the end of that season, decided to move up the road to Apopka. If you're not familiar, Apopka and Wekiva, intra-city rivals, about 5 miles apart. And he brought the Metro versus Florida Challenge with him and has continued it at Apopka last year.
Traveling Vipers ball, and we'll have a couple of substitutions as Gabe Gomez-Diggins and Joanne Rapolo enter for the Hurricanes.
Last year, we expanded the locations from just Apopka to include Lake Highland Prep. This is our last game, which will be played at Lake Highland Prep, the 6th. All of the remaining 21 games will be played at Apopka. So certainly the event has grown in a number of ways, not just games. Of course, most people, you think of, when you say expand, getting bigger, you think just of the games first and foremost, but it has expanded in terms of the locations as well as the number of teams involved. And so now we're down to the last 30 seconds. Lake Buena Vista with the 13-6 lead. I also believe that's the largest lead that any Metro Conference team has had during the 5 previous games.
Fouls called against Vipers number 10, Michael Winslow, his first, the team's second, and that will send number 5, Jonathan Collins, to the line shooting 2.
Collins looking for his first points of the game. So, of course, Lake Buena Vista also only 3 years old. They are 0-3 in this event. Mount Dora, of course, has been around forever, certainly long before I moved to Florida. And they are 1-2 in this event. And now
layup by Remy Santana through traffic.
Now down to the last 10 seconds. Mount Dora will get the last shot off. Got to move quickly now. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. And they do not get the shot off. I can hear Coach Liptek yelling at them that they don't have much time. And he's standing right in front of the bench, actually about 5 feet to the left side, and not happy with the fact that Mount Dora did not get one last shot off. Score remains 15-6. Once again, the first time during day 1 of the 2023 Metro Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge, Metro Conference team has had a 9-point lead.
Once again, we want to welcome everyone to the 13th annual Metro versus Florida Challenge presented by Advent Health, Synchrony Chiropractic, and Burn Fat Orlando. We'll start by recognizing our friends at Advent Health, who have 8 Central Florida hospitals that have been named as the best in the Orlando area for 13 years in a row. At Advent Health, we care for your mind, body, and spirit while you get back to doing what you love with those you love. Visit www.besthospitalinOrlando.com to get started on your journey to wellness.
So we continue into the second quarter, 15-6 lead for Lake Buena Vista, the still newer school, one of 2 schools that opened up 3 years ago, Horizon being the other. They led us off today. Unfortunately for the Metro Conference, they fell to Mount Dora Christian. And as Mark said, during that first quarter, a pair of teams looking to get to that 500 mark. They did not have particularly good records last year. Good season, 7-19 for Lake Buena Vista, 9-14 for Mount Dora. Both of them lost their first game in the district championship tournaments. So certainly this victory would go a long way towards the intangible, being able to get some confidence, build a blueprint moving forward. And as I always like to say, Mark, nothing beats taking that pressure off once you get that first victory out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, preseason or not, the games don't count on the record in the preseason, but they do certainly set the tone and the momentum for the season. And now we get a turnover here, and the Hurricanes with an opportunity.
So Mount Dora going to work. Nice job of moving the ball around the perimeter. The launch, it doesn't catch rim. First field goal attempt of the second quarter. And now Lake Buena Vista on the move. They'll settle into the half-court offense. A shot from Ferresi. No go, but the rebound
by Remy Santana.
So offensive rebounding continues to be one of the keys for Lake Buena Vista as they now have an 11-point lead, reaching double digits, 6:33 before halftime. Mount Dora still looking to find some semblance of a shooting game. They've been under 50%. Into Jonathan Joseph. He's unable to connect on the drive and the layup attempt. And now Lake Buena Vista, opportunity to get that lead up to 12 or even 13 points. Moving that ball quickly around the perimeter, and a jump ball as Josh Collins just stuck his hands into the breadbasket of Nash Barfield, and the two hit the ground.
Held ball. Possession, Hurricanes.
Lake Highland Prep the site for day one of this event. Next 3 days, the event will be held at Apopka High School. 21 games in total at Apopka. As Mount Dora looking to cut into that lead, see if they can take advantage of being given a gift. Mistake by Lake Buena Vista. Long shot, no dice. And Lake Buena, Mount Dora coming down with the rebound. So now they continue to work that ball on the left side, Mount Dora. The two-man game between Gomez-Diggins and Rapallo. And it comes to an end with the foul.
Illegal screen is called against Aldo Nunez Hernandez. That is his first, the team's first as well of this quarter.
So both teams with opportunities to further their position. Of course, Mount Dora, opportunity to cut into the lead, break some of that momentum that's been built up by Lake Buena Vista. Lake Buena Vista, opportunity to further solidify, intensify what has been a control of this game, and of course the double-digit lead.
Illegal screen is called against Vipers, number 11, Alessandro Farace. That's his second, the team's first. So one good illegal screen turnover deserves another. And now we're going to pause for a timeout. 30-second timeout requested by the Hurricanes.
17-6. Lake Buena Vista has been in the lead since the beginning. 5-12, second quarter. This is the 2023 Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge.
The 2023 Metro versus Florida Challenge in memory of Earl Graham is presented by Buena Orlando, who invites you to step on the scale and take their money-back guarantee task. If you don't lose weight within the first 10 days, they'll refund your money. Call 855-889-FIN to get the tools and guidance you need to take charge of your weight and your life. Back to live action here at Lake Highland Prep.
And Mount Dora with possession, wearing their traditional orange jersey with the white numbers and the name on the front. Just under 5 minutes. And drain the rain
for David Ramos Rivera.
So the opportunity to further solidify the position of both teams has been out there for a couple of minutes. And finally, Mount Dora turns the potential into reality. And in the process, cuts the lead to 8. Now an opportunity to cut that lead even more as the rebound grabbed by Ramos Rivera. And Mount Dora goes to work.
Another team control foul. Foul called against number 34, Jonathan Joseph, his first, the team's second. Checking into the game for LBV, number 15, Jonathan Porter.
Approaching 4 minutes before halftime.
Release from the corner is short, and the rebound goes to Jackson Fernance. Another short tray from the corner. And now a transition opportunity. There's the layup. Number 2, Remy Santana.
19-9 score. Mount Dora coming back the other way, needing some points. Don't want that lead to get too big, especially at this point, just before halftime.
Trey bounces off the heel, and now we're going to get a foul on the rebound. Foul's called against Vipers number 2, Remy Santana. That's his first, the team's second. Deuce Wheeler is back in.
.332 remaining, 19-9 lead for Lake Buena Vista, taking the inbound pass, but no dice on the attempt. Ramos Rivera back the other way, the turnover.
And I think David Ramos Rivera zigged when he should have zagged, was able to recover before he went out of bounds. This looks like a game of pickup ball for a minute there, Neil. Yeah. Number 5, Fabian Joseph scores for the Vipers. So right now, if you can believe it, Lake Buena Vista, which is, of course, they've only been around for 3 years, but they have yet to win at the Metro versus Florida Challenge. And at this point, I mean, it's still early, but they are poised to be the only Metro team that comes away with a victory today.
Yeah, and actually Lake Buena Vista, this is their 3rd year, which means they've only completed 2 seasons.
That's correct. They have an MVFC record of 0-3 because they played multiple games last year. 30-second timeout is called by Mount Dora. Take this opportunity to thank Dr. St. Germain and his team at St. Germain Chiropractic Clinic, offering the best non-invasive healthcare services in the Central Florida area. They accept most insurance and can treat back and neck pain, headaches, auto accidents, slip and fall injuries, and musculoskeletal conditions. Remember, when in pain, call St. Germain.
So Mount Dora has possession, down by 12 points, and certainly Lake Buena Vista has played better. They have been in control, and they have been forced or caused Mount Dora to really not be able to play as well as they're capable of, not play their game, so to speak. Of course, Lake Buena Vista has had their moments of negative play as well, but certainly far less than Mount Dora as we approach 2 minutes. Soft touch off the side of the rim. Lake Buena Vista pulls down the rebound. That's Joseph bringing it up after grabbing the rebound. And they go to work looking to increase that 12-point lead. That they won't. Give credit to Ramos Riveros, who stuck his hand in, got his body in the way, and converts the transition into a deuce.
David Ramos Rivera. And that closes it to a 10-point game, under 2 minutes to play here in the first half.
So out on the wing. That's Porter, unable to connect, but doing Windex work and going bank.
Fabian Joseph on the second chance basket.
Minute and a half remaining, lead back up to 12. So I'm Neil Fisher. The other voice you hear is Mark Barchi. He's also the public address announcer. As the ball comes loose, Lake Buena Vista on the run again. And just as quickly, they lose the ball. And Mount Dora comes down the other way. The stop-and-go move does not shake the defender, Winslow. The shot off the left side. Porter skying and ripping the rebound down, and the whistle fouls.
Fouls called against Hurricanes number 2, Deuce Wheeler. That's his first personal foul, the team's third.
Lake Buena Vista brings the ball up, looking to increase that 12-point lead. They're going to try with the three. Rattles in and out. Barfield with the attempt. 40 seconds remaining before halftime. Stop, pop, and no drop. That was actually an air ball from Wassam. And 32 seconds even.
Bad situational awareness by the Vipers. I don't think Nash Barfield knew where he was. And so he rebounds what was an easy rebound that was unchallenged, rebounds it out of bounds. All the way back to half court.
.20 seconds now remaining. Mount Dora still with some time to set up. Looks like they're setting up for that last shot. No look at, no real urgency to get the ball in, and a foul, so that will stop the clock.
Foul's called against Jonathan Porter. That's his first personal foul, the team's third. So still both teams have a foul to give. Unlikely we're going to see any penalty shots before halftime here.
.4 seconds now. As the ball is handed to Nunez Hernandez. He goes inside, and they're going to use up all the clock now. As Ramos Riveros takes a couple steps back, two-man game. Now they got to go, 3 seconds remaining, and that's not going to come close. Off the heel, off the left side, and really not set up very well by Mount Dora. And Lake Buena Vista bidding to become the first team and only team on day one of the 2023 Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge to win. They have a 23-11 lead at halftime. Again, this is the 2023 Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge from Lake Highland Prep.
Once again, we'd like to thank everyone who makes the 13th annual Metro versus Florida Challenge possible, including our sponsors. We've already mentioned, of course, that the 13th annual Metro versus Florida Challenge is presented by St. Germain Chiropractic and Burn Fat Orlando, as well as Advent Health. We also want to thank our other sponsors, including Elevate Orlando, a civic nonprofit focused on helping students grow in strength of character and application of essential life skills. They teach those in the classroom, model them through mentoring, and incorporate them into all they do so students can apply those skills to their lives. Through a partnership with Orange County Public Schools, Elevate Orlando's curriculum is offered as an accredited elective course. And those teacher mentors are able to spend more than half their time outside the school mentoring students. With more than 1,500 participants, 14 OCPS partner schools, a 98% graduation rate, and 96% post-secondary placement, visit elevateorlando.com to learn more about how they can impact your student's life. We also want to thank our friends at Excel Speed Training. Coach Lowe Wood offers training in all sports for speed, agility, and fitness. With 2 days a week offered at 3 sites, it's easy to find a program that works for you. Visit excelspeed.com to learn more. And we want to thank Winter Park Driving Academy, proud sponsor of this year's Earl Graham Memorial Metro versus Florida Challenge. The Winter Park Driving Academy is dedicated to serving the greater Orlando area in its mission to train student drivers in essential defensive driving techniques. And what's more, they also can act as your examiner for the driver's test and save you a trip to the DMV and the scheduling nightmare that comes with that. So you can visit their website at wpdriving.com to schedule lessons and a road test with their experienced and professional staff. And we'd like to thank Apopka Commissioner Kyle Becker, a proud supporter of Blue Darter Athletics and the Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge, as well as Williams Construction and Development, dedicated professionals, superior craftsmanship, and better building materials. We also want to thank Mo Money and Core Construction, where operational excellence is the core standard. We're going to take a break for about another 5 minutes, and then we will be back to wrap up Day 1, Game 6 of the 2023 Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge, presented by St. Germain Chiropractic, Burnfat Orlando, and Advent Health. Welcome back to Lake Highland Prep, where we are ready to get going here with the third period. Lake Buena Vista up by 12. Low-scoring game overall, but 23-11 is the score at halftime here in Game 6 out of 6 for day one. And we are underway for the third quarter. My name is Mark Barchi, voice of the Metro versus Florida Challenge and media director here for the event. And of course, I am also proud to be the voice of the Mustangs for Wekiva High School, covering their regular season games as well. I'll be joined once again in a moment by Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief to take you through these last 16 minutes of day one. Of course, this is a marathon, not a sprint. We have 22 total games for the Metro versus Florida Challenge this year, 6 of them today. We'll do 6 more tomorrow at Apopka High School, and then we will do 7 each on Friday and Saturday. Obviously, no games on Thanksgiving Day. We will invite you to enjoy that with your families. We will be enjoying it with ours. And now we are getting a turnover. Tray does not fall. And the Vipers will make sure that the Hurricanes don't get a second chance at that one. Second chance doesn't fall, but it does draw the foul. Nash Barfield fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. The foul is called against number 10, David Ramos Rivera. That's his second personal foul, the team's first of the period. And Barfield hits the first to make it 7 points for him tonight. Second falls as well, so good news for the Vipers to start off third period. Still waiting for a field goal, but they'll take the points any way they get them.
Most importantly, the lead now up to 14. Most importantly, the lead now up to 14. 6.5 remaining third quarter. This is the 2021 Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge. This is the 2021 Earl Graham versus, 2023 Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge.
It's getting late, isn't it?
Yes.
6 games.
And as Mark just pointed out, it's Mark Barchi, the
foul is called
voice
against Vipers number 11, Alessandro Ferracci. That's his first personal foul.
The other
second of this half.
The other voice you hear, Mark Barchi, is also our public address announcer. And we are wrapping up day one.
Strike that. That was Aldo Nunez Hernandez, his first. And now at the free throw line is number 5, Fabian Joseph.
And a perfect start for the Florida contingency, winning the first 5 games. That winning streak is in jeopardy as now the lead increases to 15. Lake Buena Vista representing the Metro Conference. They pull out that offensive rebound. And now go back to work again, looking to increase that 15-point lead. Lake Highland Prep the site for this first game. And we've talked about throughout the day, Lake Highland Prep, one of several schools that Coach Earl Graham, of course, the event now named after Coach Graham, where he worked throughout a 50-plus year career. So Coach Williams, Scott Williams, the director of this event, head coach at Apopka, felt like it was only appropriate to expand it to 2 locations, the second being Lake Highland Prep.
Hurricanes field goal from Evan Wassam.
The other location, of course, is Apopka. They'll have it for 3 days, 21 games, 6 games tomorrow, 7 games on Friday and Saturday. And now with a 26-13 score, Lake Buena Vista in the lead. Mount Dora looking to close it down. Nice cross the paint pass, but equally beautiful block by
Porter.
Nice
work by Porter there.
Got to the right place, right time, and relied on his hands, not his body. And at the other end, the slash and dash through the lane by Joseph.
Fabian Joseph with a soft touch. And we're back to a 15-point ball game.
Largest of the game for Lake Buena Vista.
Now long distance dedication, getting the pass to Ramos Rivera. He'll take it himself from the baseline, doesn't have it, but an offensive board by Brinson will eventually lead to a turnover. Faraci gets the steal, has an opportunity in transition, and there it is. Faraci on the pass to Micah Winslow.
4.5 minutes remaining. Lead now up to 17, and that largest lead continues to grow. And they'll have another chance. They have another chance after the block by Porter.
Now that was not a clean block. Nunez Hernandez got a chunk of wrist there, so we will go to the free throw line now. Foul called against Hurricanes, number 11, Aldo Nunez Hernandez, his second, the team's third of this period. Alessandro Faraci will shoot 2.
22 teams in the Metro Conference. And in each of these games, again, 26 in total. A Metro Conference member will play a non-conference member, a.k.a. the Florida contingency, as we get, as you like to say, Mark, the Chinese fire drill. Entire second unit coming in for Mount Dora. And at the end of the 26 games, we count up which sides won the most games. Of course, this event is based on the ACC versus Big Ten Challenge, and we appreciate you spending a part of your holiday weekend or holiday week with us. We hope you enjoy the coverage as much as we have enjoyed bringing it to you. We are wrapping up the first day from Lake Highland Prep, and Lake Buena Vista is poised to be the only Metro Conference team to win today. 5 straight victories by the Florida contingency. 5 for 5, as perfect as it can get. Certainly something we are not used to seeing from the Metro Conference perspective. Now some nice passing about Dora, and they attack and draw the foul.
Foul's called against Vipers number 21, Tyrus Mosley, his first, the team's first, and that will send Jonathan Collins to the line, shooting 2.
And Lake Buena Vista has also had the lead from the beginning. So, of course, you do always hear now, this is the Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge, not just the Metro versus Florida Challenge. Coach Graham was an assistant coach for over 50 years. His last assignment was with Scott Williams. He worked 7 years with Coach Williams at Wekiva, and then 8 years at Apopka High School. Unfortunately, he passed away due to COVID in January of 2021. Very unsettling, very sad day. In particular, for those of us who are familiar with Apopka athletics and the youth level, he just meant so much to so many people. As we're going to get a foul, and it's offensive.
Foul called against number 5, Jonathan Collins, on the charge. It's his first, the team's fourth. Charge taken by Theloniel Vital.
And wanted to point out, too, as great a coach and as great a man as he was at understanding, he had an incredible platform to be a positive influence in other people's lives. As a coach, he was an even better person. Can't tell you how many people have talked to me about the fact that they usually come to me and talk to me about the kind of person he was first and foremost over his skill level as a coach.
Hold is called against number 5, Jonathan Collins, his second personal foul, the team's fifth, and that will invoke the penalty. So for those of not familiar, there was a change to the NFHS rules this year. They now follow FIBA rules, or NCAA women's, that it's 2-shot bonus on 5 fouls in the quarter rather than 7 or 10 fouls in the half.
So 3 minutes remaining in the third quarter. And as Mark just said, Lake Buena Vista is now in the bonus with that 3 minutes remaining. And
I haven't had a chance to talk to a lot of coaches since that rule change went into effect to see how popular it is. But the FHSAA and the NFHS made the decision to switch based on safety studies of injuries that occur during fouling situations, particularly in late game. where you have to, of course, you had to push all the way up to 7 in order to get the 1-and-1 bonus. So in any case, it's a similar overall perspective. You still, you're 5 1/4 versus 10.5 is, kind of the same difference, but it does change the strategy a little bit in the sense that, like, Mount Dora has penalty against them now, but in 2 minutes and 20 seconds, all will be forgiven, and they'll get a clean slate for the fourth quarter, which is not the way it would have worked in the old rules.
Yeah, at least as far as the team fouls.
Correct.
The individual fouls still do remain. They don't get a clean slate. It's like it's always been. It's per game.
Now, one thing I will say is the NFHS did not adopt some of the NBA's more eclectic enhancements to the bonus rule. So there's nothing about the last 2 minutes of the half. There's nothing about throw-in fouls being any different than any other kind of foul. So none of that the NBA uses, but just the basic FIBA rules. Fouls called against Jonathan Collins. That's his third personal. And the Vipers continue into the bonus.
2:05
shooting 2 will be Fabian Joseph.
2:05 remaining, third quarter, and a 32-14 lead as Fabian Joseph steps up to the free throw line.
It's the first. Now, interestingly, that's 3 in a row, if I'm not mistaken, for Collins, who had 0 when the period started. Picked up an offensive and then 2 defensive pretty much on as many possessions. Second one falls for Joseph as well, and we got about $2 left in the third period.
Interception.
And
nice
a foul.
Job.
That's about the worst
job.
that can happen to you.
A beautiful job by Hurafano, the 6'4" junior. Right place, right time, using that body as a shield and then knocking the ball away.
Foul is called against Hurricanes number 2, Deuce Wheeler. His second. Bonus continues. Fabian Joseph shooting.
Deja vu. 20-point lead. And gotta tell you, Mark, very much like the Jones Mainland game, this is not really a surprise that Lake Buena Vista is in the lead. It's the amount that they're in the lead. Again, Mount Dora coming off a poor season for them, only 9-14. Nonetheless, Mount Dora is always a team that usually can finish a game or two over 500. That's
Vipers foul called against Darwin Hurafano. That's his first, the team's second.
In the meantime, Lake Buena Vista in only its third year. Actually, you could really say they've only been around for 2 years since this is the first game of the third year. And they now have a 22-point lead as we come close to the end of the third quarter. And a whistle before the shot.
Foul is called against number 3, Josh Collins, on the team control foul. That's his first. No bonus shots for offensive fouls, but it does turn the ball over to the Vipers. So that's another thing that does not change from last year. Team control or offensive fouls, if you will, which would include things like illegal screening and charging and things like that. Those do, in the NFHS, count toward the team foul total, but they will never send you to the free throw line regardless of whether you're in bonus or not.
The swing through the lane and the soft touch.
Basket by Fabian Joseph.
Give the 2 points to Joseph as the Vipers, like Buena Vista, continues to increase that lead. Very steady, systematic process here in the third quarter. Mount Dora at the other end need to get some points, and they did not. That was Gomez Diggins off the mark. And now the turnover.
Vipers called for walking. Hurricanes ball, minute 3 to go in the third period.
.103 remaining, third quarter. Last game of day 1. This is the Metro versus Florida Challenge in memory of Earl Graham, the longtime assistant coach, over 50 years. Got a little over a quarter left for this site, Lake Highland Prep. We will be at Popka for the next 3 days, well actually 3 of the next 4 days. tomorrow, Friday, Saturday. Of course, we take Thanksgiving off, so you can enjoy that holiday. And off the board.
3 for John Rapallo.
Much needed points for Mount Dora, 38-17. And Mark, I'm also surprised as I look up and I see just 17 points. Not even 20 points as we're almost done with 3 quarters.
Yeah, certainly this is not where Mount Dora wanted to be. Down by a 2-1 margin. And, I mean, credit to the Vipers. They have really put up a perimeter that Mount Dora has just been unable to penetrate. You see Mount Dora taking a lot of low percentage outside shots. You've not seen a lot of easy layups. You don't see a lot happening in the paint, and that's because the Vipers, I mean, you see them in their coverage pattern there, just not giving them any inroads. And there again is a great example as Gomez-Diggins lets the tray go, and there's nothing available on the inside. So, in any case, that takes us to the end of the third period. 38-17 is the score going into the last 8 minutes of day one here at the Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge. Welcome back to live action here at Lake Highland Prep, where we are ready to start the last 8 minutes. And so far, the Hurricanes have not had any answers for the Vipers' offense, or even the defense, really.
Yeah, and I'd say a surprise on 2 counts. Of course, Lake Buena Vista with that big lead. That's the surprise, not necessarily that Lake Buena Vista is leading. The other surprise, as I mentioned right before we went to break, only 17 points scored by Mount Dora. Lead now up to 24.
3 for number 11. That's Alessandro Faraci.
Also want to point out and piggyback on what you were saying about Lake Buena Vista really causing a lot of problems when Mount Dora has the ball. Lake Buena Vista's defense certainly showing up, and that has had a lot to do with being held to 17 points, Mount Dora that is. But Lake Buena Vista, as we get a whistle, it's going to be a holding foul. Lake Buena Vista has also done an excellent job of creating transition and then turning transition into points.
Foul called against number 11, Alessandro Faraci. That's his third, the team's first of the fourth quarter.
Lake Buena Vista, very systematic in their transition opportunities.
Jeremiah Brinson on the pass from Aldo Nunez-Hernandez. The Vipers honestly were caught napping a little bit on that one, but good for the Hurricanes to take advantage of the opportunity. That's a play they have not been able to execute very much tonight. Now the Vipers taking a page out of the Hurricanes playbook and going for just the outside wild shot. That doesn't fall.
Back the other way we come now. Mount Dora looking to score for 2 possessions in a row. I believe we've only seen that 3, maybe 4 times tonight. And of course, I don't think you need to be a basketball guru when you look at the score to come to that conclusion, but they will not. Too much umph on that from Ramos Rivera. Back the other way we go. So again, talking about Lake Buena Vista transition opportunities. Normally, as a soft touch, that ball rolled for a couple of seconds.
Alessandro Faraci. So that'll put him up to 9 for the night. And, of course, whenever we get into the fourth quarter, we start thinking about MVP candidates because we will be passing out some hardware right after the conclusion of tonight's game. I'm looking at Fabian Joseph. He's got 16. Faraci also a strong contender there.
So when we think of turnovers, to continue my thought about Lake Buena Vista's transition, or when we think of transition, we think of the turnover creating it, such as that, or what it appeared to be, an interception or a steal. But you can also create transition on rebounds, or even just that when the other team scores, catching them napping. And so Lake Buena Vista hasn't just been the turnovers, it's been a starting point, but they've really created transitions from all different means and opportunity and ways of doing it.
Another thing about the Hurricanes is that they have just 3 seniors on their team. They're loaded with lots and lots of juniors, but only 3 seniors. So, again, between all of these guys, not a ton of varsity minutes being played together as a group from last season, and that becomes evident in the early season. And this is as early as you get. Other than preseason classics, nobody's really done anything yet this season. And so you'll see that work itself out over the course of the season as we get a foul called against number 4. That's Filian Vital, that's his first, the team's second, and it sends Evan Wason to the line.
5:45 remaining, 24-point lead for Mount Dora. Opportunity to cut into that lead. And now they reach the 20-point total. And again, not just the fact that Lake Buena Vista has a 23-point lead, but keeping Mount Dora to 20 points, at least I think of that as a surprise. As Lake Buena Vista, again, there you see they get that ball up quickly. They create a situation which Mount Dora has to come up on defense.
Travis Ligene to Filian Vital for 2. And like I said, Neil, it's early season jitters. You're talking about this is the first game that most of these guys have played together for 32 minutes. A lot of those combos, those inside-outside combos, have not really gelled yet. And that's why the Vipers have been able to be so effective at shutting them down on the inside.
Yeah, and the other thing, if you Lake Buena Vista, you have to feel good. Of course, this is pretty, barring what would be an incredible comeback, Lake Buena Vista can put this one in the W column, and it's always good to get that first victory out of the way, takes the pressure off, as that tray does not drop too much heat. And again, there's another thing Lake Buena Vista has done. They've really gotten those 50-50 balls. Mika Winslow, the 5'11" junior, getting that one. Didn't score on that one, but again, you don't need to be a basketball guru to understand when you're getting 3 field goal attempts compared to 1, you're probably going to win.
Yeah, and of course, Neil, to your point, those early season wins are so important for a lot of teams in establishing that momentum. And also, if you're a team like the Vipers, you're sitting in 5A District 7, you know that the path to a district championship is going to be a tall and hard one, as we get the Hurricanes basket there from number 10, David Ramos Rivera. So you know that a district championship is a tall order. Now, obviously, that's the goal. That's the way you want to get into the playoffs. That's the way you maximize your opportunity to host regional tournament games. But even this early in the season, you start to think about, what if I need a wild card? What if I need to start thinking about my rating and my strength of schedule? And, when you start building those early season wins, you get that target on your back, and you start to become, the team to beat. And so that's something that would give Lake Buena Vista confidence, assuming this game continues to head toward its natural conclusion. It's a position that they have not really enjoyed a lot as a very young school that has not had a lot of opportunities to really make a lot of noise. As we get a number 15, Jonathan Porter is called in his second personal foul, the team's third.
So Lake Buena Vista, as Mark pointed out, a young school, 3 years to be exact, so they've really only played 2 full seasons, as the long outlet in Mount Dora caught sleeping. Score of the deuce for Fabian Joseph.
Joseph adds 2 for the Vipers.
And you look at the record last year, we brought it up at the beginning. We do that for each of these games. We do a quick synopsis. Only 7-19. That does not sound impressive. As a matter of fact, that sounds like bad. But when you consider that was their second year, and I believe it was a 5-game improvement, certainly a solid improvement, certainly the direction. If you're, in any case, you want to move in, but even more important, again, if you're moving from your first to second season. Of course, Lake Buena Vista, led by Gerald Scott.
Vipers foul called on number 4, Fillion of the towel.
And now
that's
the timeout.
The team's 4th, and we'll pause for a timeout called by the Hurricanes.
So certainly, my point again, Mark, 7-19. Even though that does not sound like a great record, really sounds like a very below 500. Lake Buena Vista is a team that appears, after its first 2 seasons, to be not just moving in the right direction, but they're making the right decisions and building their program the right way. And, of course, this year I think the goal would be to reach double digits when you're talking about the wins. And as Mark said, maybe even compete for that playoff spot. Quick reminder of the playoffs. Again, I know this is our very first game of the season, but to piggyback on what Mark says when he starts talking about rankings, that's because there are 4 wild card berths in each region. Quickly, there are 4 regions in each classification across the state of Florida, 4 districts in each of those regions. The champions of each of those districts earn an automatic berth into the playoffs, but then there are 4 wild cards, and it's based on the power rankings. Those rankings are decided. We don't know the exact formula. It's top secret, probably makes Nassau and the Green Berets and the Rangers or any of those other special elite forces could probably learn a thing or two from the way the FHSA keeps that formula.
Well, it's really Max Preps that drives it, but it is a homebrew FHSA
yeah, but
version.
Nonetheless, it is based on the team's record, the opponent's record, and the opponent's records. And again, that's why the rankings are important, because you have 4 wild card berths after the 4 district champions in each of the regions.
Fouls called against number 2, Deuce Wheeler. That's his 3rd, the team's 4th. At the line shooting, Jonathan Porter.
And it's also very acclimated to the fact that if you have an opportunity, if you go in as a favorite against an opponent and you don't take care of your business, aka win that, it's going to hurt you. It's leaving points on the table.
Yeah, absolutely, Neil. And the other thing is that that whole playoff seeding system is something that has changed several times over the last several years. I mean, you and I have been doing this long enough that we remember the old days when it was strictly district champions host and district runners-up go on the road, and that was it. But the problem is that created a lot of inequity between districts, that you'd have a really strong district where the third-place team really deserved a spot but didn't get one, and you'd have a weak district where two teams are going to go no matter what, and the second one, didn't really do that well. So the new system is widely regarded as being fairer, as we get a foul shot attempt from Jonathan Joseph after the foul by Magnayoa.
Yeah, and I do give credit and kudos to the FHSAA. It took them a long time to move away from, as Mark said, the old system of the 2 district championship tournament finalists. Of course, that's the champion, the runner-up. If you make it to the final, you're going to be one of those 2. But once they did, they have kept abreast. They have reviewed every season after every sport, in every sport, how they can tweak the playoff system and make it better. And I do equate it to Major League Baseball. About 10 years ago, the National League Central Division, I know we're talking high school compared to the professional, but it's the same situation in terms of the end result. If you think back, and if you're not familiar with Major League Baseball, the National League Central had 3 teams with at least 100 wins. That was the St. Louis Cardinals, the Chicago Cubs, and yes, the Pittsburgh Pirates as the transition.
A block shot there by Brian Wangovia, and we haven't seen him really until just now, and you could tell that Coach Scott has rotated in his bench to give them some minutes. But Neil, yeah, your point is.
And I was going to also say, Mark, sorry to cut you off, but I do want to finish it. That division had 5 or 6 teams as well, finishing over 500. So my point in terms of the National League Central, how it fit into Major League Baseball that year, was it was clearly the strongest division. And if you don't have if you have only 2 of those 3 teams making the playoffs, then the third team is punished for something they have no control over, being in the strongest division.
You're in bad luck by geography as we get a transition layup from Isaiah Limage. And yeah, I mean, the big transformation was that transition from the district runner-ups getting the automatic bid to the wildcard system. But the FHSAA has further tweaked that formula over the last couple of years, going to the Max Preps Power Rankings to determine those wildcards, and also, I believe it was last year, switching to a system where, yes, being the district champion does guarantee you a bid, but it doesn't guarantee you a top 4 seed anymore. And that's critical as we get a foul called against Deuce Wheeler. That'll be his second and the team's first.
So taking a quick look to tomorrow's schedule, since we have 40 seconds remaining, again, all the Metro Conference teams mentioned first. Timber Creek taking on Masters Academy, Olympia taking on Lake Brantley, Jones, their second game taking on Seminole, Apopka, the host school, taking on the mighty perennial state championship contender Orlando Christian Prep, Oak Ridge taking on Windermere Prep, that is the crown jewel this year, along with Apopka and OCP, and then Wekiva closing out the day against Eustis. From beginning to end, this has been Lake Buena Vista's game. They have dominated, they have controlled, set the tone early, and again, a team that continues to show it's building its program the right way as they enter the third season, which is going to be a convincing victory, and perhaps most convincingly is not the score, the margin of victory, but the fact that they are going to hold Mount Dora to under 30 points.
So we got one more foul before we call it a night here. Foul called against Jonathan Joseph, his second, team second.
So stick around for a few extra minutes. We will close out this night with the tradition of handing out the Earl Graham Most Valuable Player, and that does it. Your final score in the last game of day 1 for the 2023 Earl Graham Metro vs. Florida Challenge. 50-27, Lake Buena Vista over Mount Dora. Mount closes out, take us home for day 1 in our MVP.
That takes us to the end of the ballgame and the end of our first day of action here at Lake Highland Prep. Well, thank you everyone for coming up, but before you go anywhere, we've got one more piece of business that we need to take care of, and that is the awarding of our Earl Graham Most Valuable Player. Coach Graham's son is here to help us do that. And this time, I think this will come as a great surprise to no one. With 18 points, he had a great second half and really sealed the victory for Lake Buena Vista. It is none other than the 5'11 senior number 5, Fabian Joseph, 18 points on the night. Come on out, Fabian. We've got some hardware to give you. Feels like whoever is the MVP is the first one to run back to the locker room and get undressed. Here we go. All right, once again, 50-27, and Lake Buena Vista carries the torch for the Metro teams on day 1. That concludes our basketball day here on the first night of Metro versus Florida action, but fear not, we still have 6 more games tomorrow and then 7 games each on Friday and Saturday. All of those games will be at Apopka High School, and they will also be live streamed on the Metro versus Florida channel on YouTube. I want to thank all of our staff who have participated in tonight's games. Of course, we have our hospitality staff, our admission staff, and all of the logistics personnel who make these games possible. As far as the broadcast goes, special thanks to Neil Fisher and Ontavius McCullough, who are part of our broadcast crew tonight. And for them, this is Mark Barchi, the media director for the Metro versus Florida Challenge, wishing you a great night. For those of you here in the arena, please drive carefully and arrive home safely. Those of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe before you go and come back and see us tomorrow right at noon at Apopka, where we will get things going with Game 7. Until then, good night from Lake Highland Prep.